And how does it feel, Hank? Knowing every person you represent is guilty.
It's fine. Innocent people can't afford me.
Family drama, crime drama, and just some casual incest. Just a little. I am The Wiz! Alright everybody, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this review, please leave a like at the end of this video. And if you want to watch more, please subscribe. I do 3 reviews a week on this channel. Alright everybody, I'm here to review the 2014 drama The Judge, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall, directed by David Dobkin. Sometimes there are films that I watch and wonder how come so many talented people decide to make this picture. The Judge has a legitimately stacked cast, starting with its lead, Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall. Then it has many upon many excellent actors just playing small roles. You have Vera Farmiga, Billy Bob Thornton, Vincent D'Onofrio. Hell, it even has Jeremy Strong playing a mentally impaired brother, for some reason. Just by cast alone, this film is pure Oscar bait. The plot, however, is pure crowd-pleasing cheese. The film is about a son who distanced himself from his family long ago, but decides to return to his hometown to bury his mother. His dad, a very domineering but respected judge, happens to hit someone who happens to be someone he sent to prison for a long time. The son decides to stick around to defend his dad while reconnecting with his small-town roots. However, the mix of these templates just doesn't mix very well at all. The actual meat of the film is loaded with cliches. Father and son who don't get along have to mend fences for a common goal? Check. Main character starts to meet old flame from his hometown while dealing with marital problems? Oh yeah, that's there too. Does she still like him? Of course she does. Is she a smoke show? Oh, come on. Really? You already knew she was. It's Vera Farmiga, for God's sakes. Does she also have a really attractive young daughter who just so happens to fool around with the main character in the beginning of the movie, only for him to realize later on that she might actually be his daughter? Oh god, that old chestnut again. Oh boy. Wait, what? Yeah, it's the random things about The Judge that really stick out, not just because they are random, but because there's no good reason for them to be there. Why have an incest plotline with the main character? Why have a mentally impaired brother who loves recording stuff? Why would a judge with 40 years experience purposely hire a lawyer who is objectively terrible and doesn't have any experience in a murder trial? My best guess is that the screenwriters wanted to add some quirkiness or some small-town charm into the film and utterly failed on every single account. The script manages to make every other character seem like yokels, even though they aren't in a backwater rural town. The location they chose for this film is actually really beautiful, and the film tries to portray them as anything but. That is unless the character in question doesn't like the main character or the judge himself. But what works in the film is anything involving both Duvall and Downey. Both actors seem to elevate the script into something better when they are on screen. The contentiousness followed by the shared understanding of the relationship is what makes their dynamic work, and both actors do a great job portraying it. What also works well is the actual crime and trial parts of the movie. First, the trial portions are shot really well. This has actually got cinematography from Janusz Kaminski. But the more interesting developments of the film happen in scenes where it comes to the crime that was committed and when they are in court. But now you're probably hearing this and saying, if that means the main plot is good, then that means the movie is an overall good movie. Isn't that right, Wiz? And you would be right there, sir or madam, if that was most of the movie. The problem is, the trial of the judge and the relationship between Downey and Duvall isn't most of the film. It's technically the subplot. Now, I know that they advertise this as the main plot, but really, what the film is about is the family and character drama revolving around Downey's character. That's right, most of the film, whether it deals with the main character's brothers, dealing with his past, his former girlfriend, the incest, is most of the film. Well, not really the incest, but really, there's an incest plotline. Why? That means the film is mostly the family drama and random subplots the film is throwing out, and that is also not helped with the overlong runtime of 2 hours and 20 minutes. If the film would have stuck solely on the trial and sprinkled in a bit of the family drama, this could have been a decent, tight 100-minute film. It would have been a forgettable film with 2 great lead actors, but it would have been a decent one. But since it's a near 2 hour 30-minute endurance run of small-town return cliches and subplots that don't work, The Judge is just a mishmash of tiring templates that really don't work together at all. That said, as you might see with the Letterboxd reviews, there are some who really enjoy The Judge. but most of it has a lot to do with the dynamic between Duvall and Downey, which I have to admit is actually pretty damn good. But for me, it's just not enough for a recommendation. Alright, so before I get into my rating, let's see what other people think about this film. Letterboxd Users has it a 3.4 out of 5. Now, what's interesting about this review score is that a lot of the reviews definitely point out the problems that I had with this film, but they seem to really like the dynamic between Downey Jr. and Duvall enough to give it a recommendation, so keep that in mind. Rotten Tomatoes has this at a score of 49% rotten. That does not surprise me. And this was nominated for 1 Oscar, and that was for Best Supporting Actor for Robert Duvall. I don't necessarily know why. It's a good performance, but it's not a great performance. I do like Robert Duvall, though, so whatever. I'm going to give The Judge 2 stars out of 5. So, like I said, the dynamic between Duvall and Downey is pretty good, and when it sticks to that plot, I think the film is actually decent. It's not great, but it's good enough to be enjoyable. However, the film really goes on a bunch of different subplots, whether it's the old flame and her daughter, the family drama. It seems to stick to that stuff more than it does with the actual trial, which I think was a bad idea on this movie's end. I also have a really big problem with how the film portrays the small town. They try and make it sound like they're really in some backwater hick kind of low income housing area filled with yokels and rednecks, but really the town is gorgeous in this movie. It really feels like an upper class rural town, like a place where a lot of people who just want to live a small town life but have a lot of money. That's what it kind of felt like to me in this movie. It's just got this weird feeling that the screenplay was going for one thing, the director is going for another thing, and then there is no way for each of them to meet. And then the other thing that they just put in so flippantly. I mentioned the incest thing about 3 or 4 times in the review, but I have to mention this. Why have an incest plot line? Why? There was no reason. Oh, it's just quirky. I guess made out with his daughter, possibly. What the who does that? I know the whole thing with rednecks, they probably make love with their cousins or whatever. Most don't do that. And the movie treats it so flippantly. It's he just made out with his daughter, possibly. Who cares? What's going on with Dad? Why? Why do that? It was so dumb. But I don't hate the movie, but it's definitely a flawed movie, and there's things I enjoyed about it. But if they just kept with the trial and Downey Jr. and Duvall in this film, it would have been a lot better off. But overall, 2 stars out of 5 for me for The Judge. You can rent it on Amazon or YouTube if you are interested. All right, guys, that is it for this review. Thank you again for watching. See you guys next time.
Might cost you your job.
Well, when you lose, you lose. And when you're on a streak, stick with it.
Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like it. If you didn't, please subscribe. And if you have questions or comments, go ahead and leave a comment whether you liked it or not. It just helps, If you want my written reviews, you can go onto my letterbox at IamThatWiz, or you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. Thank you very much again for watching. See you next time.